opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening indeed, and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to another round of the Chaz Draycott Media Formula One World Championship. We're here for the penultimate round of the season, round 12 of 13. I cannot believe that it has come around so quickly. We're already here in the middle of October, nearing the end of the season. The final round of the championship will come to us at the start of November, technically, when we go to Suzuka, and well, we're hoping that the championship fight is going to go right down to the wire. We expect it to, and I know a number of the drivers will be thinking the same as well. Unfortunately, no Jack Johns here this evening, I'm afraid. It's going to be just solo me in the commentary box for you tonight, but I'm looking forward to it here at the Nurburgring. We're running the Grand Prix circuit, but without the first arena because it wasn't there in 1997. Here's a look at the championship standings. Cam Dance already crowned champion, but with his race victory last time out, Kevin Zemstra has moved up to second place in the championship. He is now 9 points ahead of Christian Rose, and then he has only got 5 points over his teammate Silas Krag-Vrolik. Pete Newman looking quite safe in 5th position ahead of Jack Styles, but then Tim Perry and Ben Hoffman are tied on points for 7th and 8th position, and as you see, from there on down it could change with just one good result from anybody. In the team's championship standings at the moment, it's Benetton leading the way by just over 50 points to McLaren Mercedes, and then Ferrari are another 50 points off them. Well clear as well of Williams Renault. But again, behind them, it's all to play for. All it takes is one good round by any of the teams behind them, and they could certainly have a good old time of it and get some strong points on the board. We look at cars out on track then, and the first one we see is Pete Harrod in the Prost Mugen Honda. He's currently second fastest in practice at the moment. There's only a couple more minutes left to go of this session, but Pete's been a real star addition to the field this season. We've not quite got the same chicane that we would have had a long time ago. It was certainly an exciting opening to the first couple of corners in the 1997, what was called the Luxembourg Grand Prix there. I realised that my naming of this race, even though we call it the Bore Prix, I've noticed that the naming isn't quite right, actually. It should be the Luxembourg Bore Prix. The European Grand Prix of that year was the finale at Jerez in Spain. It wasn't the Spanish Bore Prix because it was the second of their 2 visits to Spain for that year. Estoril was actually struck off the calendar but remained in the F1 1997 game, won't you know? This is Kevin Zemstra, moving up to second in the championship standings after his win last time out at Red Bull Ring, a win that went down very, very well indeed. And I'm delighted, actually, to say that Jack Johns is with us tonight. He's just popped up into the booth. Jack, hello. He's here. I'm so sorry, mate. I thought that you weren't available for this evening. Have you got yourself a beer? Oh, you're not allowed one over there, are you? Well, it's good to have you with us, mate. I'm so sorry for assuming that you were not around. We've got, actually, I'm going to stick with this because we've got some good battling going on here during practice at the moment. We've got Kevin Zemstra and Silas Craig Vrolik, Toby Ward in there as well in the Minardi, just trying to stick with them at the moment. Toby's had a bit of a topsy-turvy season so far. He's had a couple of decent points finishes, but a couple of other times he's not actually had much rub of the green, and I've been told that they couldn't hear Jack talking anyway because Chaz is an absolute moron and had Discord muted, so apologies, Jack, but he is here, I can tell you. He will be with us in a minute. He's just getting everything sorted at his end, and we will have him live on air. Now, one thing that my PC seems to love to do is update the suits and helmets and so on between races, because as you could clearly see there, Toby did not have the right suit on with the white and blue gloves that we were seeing, but what we need to keep our eye on is this amazing battle in front between Kevin Zemstra and Silas Craig Vrolik. Okay. Anyway, Ben Gregory again, another car that doesn't seem to have kept its livery from last week. I don't know why it does this, but honestly, it seems to do this every single week to me. It hates me. It really does hate me. I don't know why, but this just happens. So all the cars are going to go white for a minute, and then hopefully everybody's liveries will go back to working as they should. There is Ben Gregory with still the spec map all over the car from his previous machine. Ugh. Woe is me. Woe is me. It's very difficult being a league organiser. Here's Pete Newman, who's having a spin. Unfortunately, Pete's had a very good second half to his season compared to how the first half went. He got his maiden win of the season at Monza a couple of weeks ago. He had a pretty strong race at Red Bull Ring as well, and I know that he's going to be looking for that second win of the championship to really help home his Benetton teammate. After this, we will only have one round left, and as long as Benetton are clear of McLaren Mercedes by 44 points, they will be the team's champions in the first season, as well as having Cam Dance take the Drivers' Championship first time round as well. So Pete pushing hard, nearly half a second off the top spot at the moment. Now, we don't have the biggest of turnouts again this evening by the look of it, unfortunately, but we are trying to make sure that we get as many drivers in as we can. We're going for a pretty big push towards the finale of the season when we go to Suzuka in 3 weeks' time to try and have the full complement of all 24 cars on the grid. It may be the case that we have some extra help in and some one-off appearances at the end of the season, but I'm not sure how well that will go down with drivers. So we're going to have talks behind the scenes between now and then about that, because at the end of the day, you don't want to implement new drivers into the series that could potentially affect the championship results when it's so close in the points between a number of them out there. Here's Khan Nguyen in the Tyrrell. Good to have Khan back on our grid again. The Vietnamese driver in the Tyrrell Ford. Again, he's had a very difficult season. He started out with Jordan. Unfortunately, got demoted after Aaron Smith showed so much promise in his yellow number 70 machine. And from then on,
I think I'm in.
He struggled. And Jack Johns is in, are you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm ready. there'll be a few for those watching at home that if we're on board with someone, I think I might have an issue. But in normal circumstances, I'm all good right now. I'm ready for the Nurburgring.
Well, let's do a live test. We'll go on the front suspension now of Car Newen.
I can just about see.
And then, oh yeah, because you've got triple monitors, so you've got a weird angle, haven't you? Anyway, it's good to have you with us, Jack, as practice comes to a close. So perfect timing, my friend.
How much did I miss?
Not a lot. The session launched late, actually, because of an issue with iRacing. So it's been one of those nights already so far. We only have 12 cars with us. We may get Cam Dance joining through qualifying, but this may be a bit of a shorter session. Jakub Szymanski is going to be the first car out. And with a smaller grid, of course, 12 cars score points in this championship. So everybody, at the moment anyway, has a chance for points here. What do you think that's going to do to the mental state of the drivers this evening?
I think Jakub will be happy. Doesn't matter where he qualifies right now.
Very true.
Have you spoke about the track, Chaz, in terms of, I think there was a choice, wasn't there, between two layouts?
Well, it's funny, because I'm that much of a terrible league organiser. I basically asked...
I just dropped you in it.
Oh, no, I'm happy to admit it, to be honest with you. But earlier in the week, for anyone that doesn't know and isn't in the CDM Boremula 1 Discord, why aren't you? We had a vote, basically, whether we include the arena or not for this evening, because my point is that it wasn't there in 1997, but the one that we can use is not accurate to 1997 either, because it's effectively the Nurburgring 24-hour first couple of corners where it's just a chicane with a tiny, tiny little barrier, and it's not as quick as it was back in day. However, I gave the drivers this choice, and to be honest, I'm quite lucky that they all chose to do it without the arena, because it turns out that already on the calendar and already in the rule book and everything, I'd already said it was without the arena. So we've still got the one that we originally would have had, but all I did was make the drivers sort of affirm that anyway. Bit of blinking.
I voted for this one.
Well, I'm glad. It's nice to know that we're in the same boat on that one. But, I mean, it's one of them. I'm not a big fan of the arena at the Nurburgring, to be honest with you. I think it's a horrible bit of racing circuit, but the drivers argued that it was a place for more overtaking to take place. But in my mind, the first chicane's just as good.
Just seen Kevin's comment. He said, "Come on, Jack, hop in the car and join us. We need more cars." Funny thing, actually, Chaz. There's a reason I was a little bit late. So I was in the session ghosted. I did about 4 laps, and then I realised that the stream had started. So, Kevin, I've already done a few laps, and I don't think I would have been a strong addition, to be honest. This car is tricky. You guys have all got used to it. I think I did a 1. Well, let's see what Jakub does, but I did a 1:43.1.
Whatever Jakub does, take 3 seconds off and say that's your time.
Yeah. I did a 1:43.1 after 3-4 laps. It's a tricky little car, and this circuit was interesting. My problem was, and I don't know if these guys, the drivers, will already know this from obviously driving it for the season, but my problem seemed to be if you downshift too early.
Oh yeah,
I'm a bit of a spammy downshifter. And it really kicks the rear end out of this car, which wasn't fun for some of these corners. Biggest struggles for me were the final turn. The rear end really steps out around the final corner here. You'll see it. And actually the chicane with some massive curves. So Jakub's just coming up to the section that I'm talking about now. So he's just coming up towards the chicane. And look at the sausage curves on the left and right here. I tried this in first the first time. I don't think that's right. Second looks right. Jakub's doing it in second as well. Very cautious through there to not get a 1x. I was using all that curve on the left, and then I downshifted to second here, and it would always kick the rear end out. And I think my last lap I did it in third, but yeah, it's a tricky little circuit. He's damaged his wing somewhere on his lap. I didn't see that happen. 1:44.4 for Jakub.
Yeah, it's I didn't notice the damage either until maybe he went into like turns 2 or 3. So maybe he's done it here in this first chicane where it drops down. Drivers have to be very careful of that. But yes, 1:44.4 for Jakub Szymanski. And across the line comes the second car, which is going to be Car Newen in the Tyrrell. Good-looking car indeed, as they all were in 1997. And to be honest, the more and more we see this car, the more I realise that it really suits the sort of shape of this livery. You know, the cars obviously are replicas because it's the most similar shape to a 1997 Formula 1 car that you can get on the sim. But to be honest with you, I think the Tyrrell livery, while it's not the most out there livery, it really does suit the shape, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think we spoke about it throughout the season. These liveries they're all gorgeous, and some of them are pretty for the fact that they are simple compared to what we see sometimes. But like you said, the straight lines on this one really match the shape of this car. Very nice.
My missus says I'm
Agreed.
pretty because I'm simple as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, in a way. Simple things. Anyway, 2 purple sectors and a green sector so far from Khan New, and it's nice to know that on this overlay file the purple sectors work, because for all of my Nevo work and Sim Racing Magazine work, nothing seems to highlight purple when people go fastest, so we only get personal best sectors and no overall, but still, it works here. I love this run down to the chicane, but it's sort of like the Monza effect, as I call it, because you've got the huge run to a big heavy braking zone, and you need to get a strong run out of the corner that you're coming up to. You can really get in your head about it, can't you, because you've got so long to prepare for it.
Yeah, it's so common, like you said. So I like that, actually. Like, when there's a massive straight or flat out section, you've got so much time to think about that next braking zone that so many things can end up going wrong. You can either take it overly cautious, like I think we saw Jakob do into that chicane, and I'm sure some of the later drivers like that we've seen always throw it round. Maybe Zwemstra or Silas, he's going to really attack it, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see some people potentially overdo it, but that's the fun of these one-lap qualifying sessions. And as we wait now for Toby Ward to gently go down the revs in the Minardi, he's overdone it a little bit there, one way then the other, but again, that sort of chicane asks for it. And Jakob says he wrecked the wing on the last chicane, but that must have been on the outlap because it was damaged by this point of the first lap, I noticed, but still. Is what it is. Toby Ward does a green-purple sector, but no purple. Aidan Millward says if the car has to match the era of the F1 car it's based on, then a 2003 season can be based on the 3.5 Renault. It's funny you say that, actually. I was talking to a number of the guys about doing a potential series with the Formula Renault 3.5, but basing it on about 2006, 2007. Maybe even a little bit earlier, 2005, 2006, because it was around 2006 where they started getting really flicky and weird wingy. Where, I mean, look at the 2008 McLaren where I think the front wing joined over the top of the nose as well as underneath it. It looked completely stupid, but it was a very effective car. And even the 2007 McLaren as well with that weird little sort of that V-shaped flick on the nose. Oh, I hated that era. I really did. The cars were phenomenally quick, but I hated the way the cars looked there. There was too much going on. Bits
everywhere.
Yeah, there literally was, but... You know, go back to like 1991. I always bring this example up, but the McLaren front wing in 1991, much like on these cars, it's like you've drawn a rectangle and you can just cut a circle shape out of one side of it and there's your front wing. And that's it. And I love that. Toby Ward's not going to love this lap, though, as he comes across the line. There's no purple sectors yet, and he's 2.7 seconds off. So, unfortunately, he is bottom of the current qualifiers at the moment in the Minardi. Martin Kenyon next up. Martin is a man that we've been praising all season, and to be honest, Jack, I think he deserves it, and he will get the praise till the very end, because considering how his pre-season testing went, you know, he's done really well so far this year, and he's in 14th place in the championship on 19 points. So he's not had a bad one by any stretch of the imagination.
Not at all, and they're easy to spot, both of the Lola cars, so... it's really, he has had a good season. He's been keeping it consistent. He hasn't let anything get him down, and those points show for it. So he's kept his head in the game. This circuit's going to be interesting, I think, race wise. I'm not sure what to expect. There's plenty of overtaking opportunity. There's plenty of straights to slipstream on. Except a purple sector there, as Martin in sector 2. So it's looking good so far for Mr. Kenyon.
Jakub Szymanski in the chat saying Martin is my superior teammate, number 2 outshining number 1, and he is doing a really good job though, is Martin, to be fair to him. And you know, Jakub's had a tough season himself. He's not really been getting on with the car at a lot of circuits, and especially the circuits that he dislikes as well. He's had a bit of a curse against him at certain points, it seems. But yeah, Martin has been he's surprised a number of drivers, I'm very sure, this season. And it's always nice when you get that, because it's good to have that sort of unknown. And as a commentator, when you've not seen somebody race a certain car before, or you don't quite know how somebody would fare in a certain class of racing, it's great to see. Alex King in the chat saying the Formula Renault 3.5 sounds so good and it's great to drive. I completely agree. It is one of the best sounding race cars ever made, because it's got that sort of low V8 rumble but high pitched scream, and every single gear shift is a massive, massive backfire noise. As Kenyon goes fastest by half a genuine reaction by Jack Johns for half a second, though. That's a belter, isn't it?
It is a belter, yes. It's 4 attempts quicker than I went. So, I can say he's quick. He's done a good lap there. And I saw quite a few of them in the 42s. I've got a feeling this next bunch are going to be pretty close if they can all put it together, to be fair.
As into the first chicane, wearing his Trulli replica helmet, is John Tusting. Jarno Trulli did race for Minardi for the first half of the 1997 season, when Olivier Panis broke his legs in his horrible crash at the Montreal circuit for the Canadian Grand Prix. Jarno Trulli was moved up into Prost and scored a number of points there, outdoing teammate Shinji Nakano, just like Olivier Panis had done as well. Panis, for me, is one of the most underrated F1 drivers of all time, and it's a shame that he never really got a decent shot at a title. John Tusting's got a decent shot at pole position here, though. 2 purple sectors already.
He's gained, on the best sector one we've seen is a 22 flat. So he's actually a 10th quicker in that first, through those 2 hairpins. He's a 10th quicker than the quickest sector 2 time as well. So there's 2 temps straight away in that first part of the circuit. 22.25 for sector 3. That is even with the second fastest time. The fastest so far was Martin Kenyon in sector 3, I believe. 21.1. So he's gone fast. There you go, another faster sector. So it's looking like it's pole position, but how much by? 142.9. I'm going to say 0.6.
Around the final corner he goes then. Runs to the line, and it's a very, very good time indeed. We know that much as 42.802. Not far off though, Jack, and still impressive stuff by John Tusting. He's done a great job there in the Minardi. And the next driver up is certainly somebody that's a little bit out of sync in terms of his championship position, but he only joined in the second half of the season. Pete Harrod now in the Prost Mugen Honda. We know that Pete is very, very quick, and I'm excited to see what he can do here and how much he can go fastest by, because I think it's almost a given.
Look at that. Second gear through both of those hairpins. Looked very quick, though. Hit both of those apexes, got the power down with no oversteer at all, and it shows with a 21.7, so he's gone fastest in sector 1. Flowy through here, very coasty corners, being careful not to put the throttle on too early through that right-hander, because you can run very wide onto the gravel there. Keep it to the left-hand side. Now you've got a nice cambered hairpin coming up. Going to brake on the left-hand side. Some people brake diagonally across. Some people keep it wide and take a nice swoopy line in, swoopy line out. Use the curve on the exit if you need to, no problem. And then this next S should be flat out quite easily. You're just going to change over to 5th as you turn in, and then flat out through here. Back over to the right-hand side for a 90-degree left, but a fast one. Deceivingly fast, actually. You can gain a lot of time through this corner. So he goes down to 4th, and look at that, misses the apex, but you can run right out. You don't really lose too much time by missing the apex there. Coast through the right-hander again in 4th gear, gets the power back on, and now this is that moment you were talking about. Flat out for a long period of time, thinking about nothing else than your braking zone for the chicane, thinking about those curves. How much are you going to turn that wheel in? Are you going to make a mistake? Don't let those doubts creep in. Hits that apex, hits that one as well. This is a very tidy lap from Pete as he heads toward the final corner. Doesn't use the curve on the left, not necessarily needed. Keeps it tight to the right-hand side, and away he goes. So that was a very good lap. It's got to be pole position.
Very tasty lap indeed by Pete Harrod, and nearly half a second clear at the top in the Prost Mugen Honda. Really good stuff from Pete. It's what we expected, to be honest with you. He is so quick, and he was great fun to watch last time out at Red Bull Ring, and hopefully he's going to be the same here. Ben Gregory back on our screens again. Good to have Ben back on the circuit. He's in the first of the 2 Jordan Peugeots that we're going to see going out through this session. We're actually halfway through qualifying already. Normally it's a good sort of 40-minute, 45-minute session, but not quite the numbers, unfortunately, tonight. Only 12 cars registered in the session so far, which is a real shame to see. But as mentioned, hopefully we can make that big push to get a lot of drivers back out just for one last hurrah at Suzuka at the end of the season. But Ben Gregory then makes his way around the first sector. It's a green sector so far. He does a 21.92, which is apparently quicker than... Oh, no, sorry, Pete's on an in-lap, actually. So I've not got that set to the right setting, clearly.
2 tenths down.
He's 2 tenths down on Pete, is he?
Yeah, it's 0.7s for both Tusting and Pete in Sector 1, so he's 2 tenths down so far. It was a very quick time in Sector 2 for Pete. That lap, I think, might stand for a couple of drivers because he's very quick. Although Gregory has gone fastest in Sector 3, but only by 200ths. So it's going to be close.
It's going to be very close indeed. He's not quite matched him through Sector 2 either. Let's see what the Sector 4 time is like. Pete did a 20.96, which was actually just done on his in-lap, so that's not a direct representation. It's a 21.18 by Ben, to be fair. So even if he's matching it against Pete's fastest time that he's just done on the way in, that's not bad at all. This could very well be second place on the grid provisionally.
Yeah, it's going to be second. 2 tenths back in between Harrod and Tusting, I reckon. This is my prediction this time.
Mystic Meg has made a prediction. And, oh, look at that. There's a tiny gap between Ben and John Tusting, but the Minardi remains in second place. Well.
Mystic Meg.
Mystic Meg. Great stuff by John Tusting, though, as here comes the Williams. Here comes Ben Hoffman. Ben, again, is another driver that's really turned his season around so far. He's had some great results recently after having a torrid first half of the championship. He's in the Williams because he was the third fastest pre-season tester out of everybody, only behind Jake Blackall and Kevin Zemstra, and it was actually a tiebreaker between Ben and Kevin as well. So Ben really has got to sort of prove himself and has been doing in these last couple of rounds, and I'm excited to see what he can get out of the car here. Let's check his first sector time and second sector time compared to Pete Harrod. He's about 1/4 of a second off in Sector 1. He's almost matched him in Sector 2. There's mere hundredths in it, as that's a little bit wide out of the hairpin there, Jack.
Yeah, sorry, I was distracted by chat. You had a lot of people talking about that 3.5 series.
Yeah.
Is that Boremula 2, the sequel? Is that what it's going to be?
You'll have to wait.
Sorry, back to Hoffman. Back to Hoffman. I was just thinking, would I enter that to give you a different type of headache? But just... right, final sector for Ben Hoffman. Sorry, final 2 sectors. He's just heading down towards the chicane. Big braking zone for this 2 final corners. I wonder if we're going to see varying lines into that final turn. The chicane, there's pretty much one line. You just don't really want to hit those big sausage curves. But this final turn, I've got a feeling some people will be taking a wide missed apex line, carry the speed through, and some people will be holding it tight and maybe taking a more angular approach to get the better exit. And I'm not too sure what we're going to see. It's a 142 point... I've lost it. Where is it? 0.5.
Not a bad time that by Ben Hoffman. Goes second fastest. Provisionally puts himself on the front row, but it's Pete Harrod in the Prost that is currently quickest. I feel a promotion for Pete might be due before the... final round of the year, because the Prost was quick, but wasn't always that quick. Jack Styles next up in the first of the Ferraris that we're going to see on our screens this evening. Jack currently 6th in the championship on 63 points. He is the second highest placed driver that has not won a race yet this season. The other one is Christian Rose, and he is currently 3rd ahead of his teammate Silas Krag-Vrolik. Looks like Christian not here this evening either, I'm afraid. So Silas has got perfect opportunity now to secure at least 3rd place in the championship with some good points here. But of course he wants to chase this man's teammate, Kevin Zemstra. Jack Styles goes fastest in the first sector though by a good, well, nearly a 1/10 of a second actually.
Yeah, I'd be rooting for Jack this time actually. If he puts the pace in right now, I hope he has a good race, because I feel like his season's been plagued a little bit by incidents that maybe weren't necessarily his fault. And he's definitely had a couple of races where he was up there and then he's just been involved in a spin or a wall. And I think he's, like you said, he's oh, that's wide. That might be a 1X. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, that's definitely. Did you see that? Man. What a drift! What a drift! Ferraris never keeping those rear ends in check.
He had an epic save, but I don't think that's going to have done him any good. He's had some great qualifying performances as Jack. He was third on the grid for the Spanish Bore Prix earlier in the season. And I think he was third again, at Hungary. I remember particularly the Ferraris had a great setup for a race in Hungary, but much like they did in real life, they just sort of bricked it completely and dropped down the order. And Jack, unfortunately, not putting a valid lap time on the board, so he will be starting from the back of the grid for the European Bore Prix, or the Luxembourg Bore Prix as it should be known. That's a massive shame for Jack.
That's the quickest curse I've ever put on anyone.
Yeah, it was very, very quick, that, wasn't it? Did a good job there.
Instant curse, yeah. Nespresso curse, just straight away. Pete Newman's next.
Yes, hopefully no curse for Pete, because like I said, he's been having a really good turnaround to his championship. He's been sort of floating inside the top 5 since the very start of the season. And to be honest with you, has done... Whoa, that was scary there. He's done a mega job in turning it around. 89 points, so he's not really close enough to Silas or Christian or even Kevin to mount a challenge on the rest of them, but he's certainly pretty much safe in confirming a top 5 finish as long as he has a nice clean run tonight and finishes ahead of Jack Styles. Peter Mackay's fan base has made its way into the YouTube chat. Lovely to see you, girls. And Pete now making his way...
Get rid of him like that, because that happens all the time.
You've got to click the dots and then hide user on this channel.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's instant. Pete Newman, though, looked very confident up the Schumacher S's, and that's one main part of this circuit where I think we're going to see some scary moments tonight, because drivers are going to want to push their luck through there, aren't they?
I'd love to see some people try side by side through there, to be honest. Just to see if they can pull it off, because it's flat out. I'm not sure if the line's wide enough for 2 cars, but I'm sure we might see someone brave enough to try, especially if they're watching and in chat now that I've said it. Maybe as a league organizer, you don't want to see that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
It would give me heart palpitations, I'm sure, when that happens. But still, across the line goes Pete Newman, and he has gone 3rd fastest behind Ben Hoffman and behind Pete Harrod. So he's not going to be over the moon with that one, but he's still ahead of the likes of John Tusting and Ben Gregory. Here's the next man to challenge him, Silas Kragvrolic, across the line in the gorgeous McLaren Mercedes. He makes his way across the start-finish line now, and very soon we will have Kevin Zemstra leaving the pit lane. You could hear him just revving up in the background and getting moving. Love the look of this McLaren. Out of all the liveries that I made out of this pack, I honestly do think it's probably the best looking one, because even the spec map and the way that the metallic silver has just come out, it looks absolutely gorgeous in the sunlight. And Silas and Christian have been really quick in it so far this season. But look at the way the car is moving around there. It's got this horrible 4-wheel drift about it, hasn't it, when it oversteers on the way in. And then there's not much you can do. You've just got to sort of wait for it to point in the right direction and go.
That's pretty much it, yeah. He's one of the drivers that I said was going to dance this car around. It'll be interesting to see how he attacks that chicane. So far, he's definitely slid it around 2 corners. What I found interesting, actually, I don't know if this... It's just I haven't been paying attention to turn 1, but he doesn't use all the track on the entry. He actually broke around the middle of the circuit and then moved left. I don't know if it was just a mistake or... but everywhere else, he's leaving no margin. He's going right out to the edges. So maybe there's no gain to be had by using all the track in turn 1, but here is the moment that I've been waiting for. Coming through here. How is he going to do his chicane? Cautiously or
no,
as fast as he dares?
Cautiously or Silas? They're the 2 modes. Whoa! He really throws it in. That was exciting to watch. He clips the curb on the right-hand side, and as you said before, Jack, using all of that curb on the left. Look at the back end trying to get away. He's dancing it around there. That is definitely the word for it, isn't it? This is dancing.
It is. That's yeah. What I mentioned earlier is you don't want to hit those curbs.
Wow.
Oh, half a second. That's how much he was sliding that car. He's in P6, half a second down. Harrod. That lap was insane compared, because no one's touched it yet. So he's still 2 tenths quicker than Hoffman.
Well, you said Jesus when Tustin crossed the line in that Minardi, and to be honest with you, Jesus indeed, because he's up there right now in the Minardi in 4th position. Seems like some of them are having quite a lot of trouble getting the power down out of that first chicane. It's really thrown a curveball in, because it's not a corner that you see being used very often, so it's not something that people are used to and that people know. This looks very, very pushy, though, from Kevin Zemstra, and now he's in second place in the championship. He's a driver that wants to hold on to that. Because he's in a Ferrari and he's second in the championship, he'll probably get disqualified at the end of all of it anyway by trying to drive somebody off the road. But to be honest with you, it's been wonderful to see this turnaround, because both you and I know that Ferrari at the start of the season had no luck whatsoever, did they?
Nope, none at all. So this is the other driver I mentioned that would probably attack, he's often sliding the car around, but this looks very tidy so far. No purple sectors yet. But not necessarily needed until the end if a super sector comes out of this. But Silas down in 6th. A little bit of a shock, 5 temps back. But then again, with how much he was sliding around, maybe not. Harrod's time, though. That turn 1 section, second must be the better option. It was the Prost that we saw take second through both of those corners.
Yeah. To be honest with you, Kevin is almost matching Pete on every sector so far. He's merely 100th quicker or slower everywhere. This is going to be very close as the final car comes round the corner, crosses the line. Is it going to be pole for Zemstra? No, it's not. 95 thousandths of a second, and a point goes the way of Pete Harrod as he takes pole for Prost, Mugen, Honda. Well, I said after last week we need to put him in a Williams, but fantastic qualifying session. Once again there, Jack. Great entertainment, but it means that Pete Harrod will be on pole position and gets a championship point for his troubles. Epic stuff. Very well done to Pete.
Indeed, 95 hundredths. Thousandths, 9 hundredths. Nearly a tenth. And it's nothing, really. On a circuit with this many corners and braking zones, there's a tenth is a minute mistake compared.
It really is. Let's have a look then at the results of qualifying, and then we will have a quick 10-minute break here as we have the warm-up session. Jack and I will just be having a quick commentary break, and then we'll come back to you and then bring you the race itself. Pete Harrod takes his first pole position of the season, the first for Prost, Mugen, Honda as well, a 142.337, a very solid lap. Kevin Zemstra only just misses out, less than a tenth of a second back to him. And then we have Ben Hoffman and Pete Newman for Williams and Benetton, making it an all-Renault engined, effectively, row 2. Next up, John Tusting in the Minardi. Fantastic qualifying by John. Gets 5th on the grid. He's going to be starting alongside Ben Gregory. Then we have Silas Craig-Brullock and Martin Kenyon on row 4. Not much between them. I tell you what, Martin will be very, very happy with that, won't he? Because he's only half a tenth off Silas Craig-Brullock, who's right up there in the championship. Khan Newen 9th. Jakub Szymanski joins him on the 5th row. Then we've got Toby Ward 11th. He had a bit of a torrid lap, to be fair, but he's just going to be trying to score just a handful of points out of this one. While Jack Stiles starts at the back of the grid, Jack. He's certainly going to be one to keep an eye on, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to try and carve his way through, but we've seen this before, and this is potentially why he's had accidents every now and then. It's very close, like you said, between 8th and 1st, just half a second between those top 8. So maybe we could, let's see if Jack maybe attacks this differently. Maybe he's not going to carve his way through the field, and a fuel strategy might come into play. Maybe he'll think about that, maybe lift off behind a few people. If those top 8 stay together, that might be beneficial.
Might indeed. Right, we're just going to take a quick break here on Chaz Draycott Media, but we're going to let the cameras do their thing. They will automatically switch between some of the drivers for you, and you can watch the warm-up session. But Jack and I will be back with you in about 5 minutes' time, and then we'll get prepared for the race. Round 12 of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship, the European Bore Prix, will be with you very soon.
Stop the time.
Hello again, everybody. Chaz Draycott and Jack Johns here for the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship. We're here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit without the horrendous Mercedes arena that I know everybody hates as much as I do. And we've not got the biggest field of cars tonight, but as we've discussed, Jack, it's going to be an interesting one because there's basically guaranteed points on the table if people just finish the race. So maybe we might see a bit of a different mindset from some drivers tonight. Hopefully that doesn't mean a boring race, but at the end of the day, their points will be more of a priority to them than entertaining us.
No, I didn't even consider the potential of a DNF. That is something I didn't think about, and you're right. That may change some mindsets if they're going to get some guaranteed points if they finish. How many fast repairs do they have?
Just the one.
Yeah, okay,
and thanks to your suggestion earlier in the season, the drivers can have an incident early on and then, of course, put enough fuel in to then make it to the end, because in the first round of the championship, we had some drivers having incidents in the opening laps, and then because of the limit on the fuel, they couldn't then fill up to the end, so they still had to do another pit stop, which didn't really give them enough chance to get back into the race. And, you know, we want to give everybody as much chance as we can, so people aren't just lingering around at the back on their own if they have an incident early on. You know, if they have a decent enough run, they could potentially make some time back and get back up there. So we do have the opportunity for drivers to get back into the race, and we've got some good battles already going on.
Yeah, got some practice fights going on. I did have to commit to the whole season 1 of Jetta Cup was with that fueling error. So anyone that crashed for that whole first season was out. But yeah, season 2 we made that change, and it's like you said, it keeps people in.
Yeah,
it was a positive change.
Yeah, for sure. And if you haven't seen the Jetta Cup before, by The Racing Line and VCO Esports, it's sponsored by GT Omega as well, isn't it? Still.
Yes, yeah.
And if you haven't watched
That's me. I'm the Racing Line.
Yes, Jack is the Racing Line. I should explain that. But if you haven't watched it before, honestly, go and search for it and go and watch it, because it is massive entertainment. They have humongous grids of Volkswagen Jettas. Anybody that watched my British Boring Car Championship will know those cars are good when we have a grid of about 15, 16. But when they've got the grids the size these guys have, it's even more entertainment. So honestly, do go and watch it. It's phenomenal, phenomenal fun. As Toby forgets. Toby was, if anything, he was sending a message there. He was saying, "Come on, Chaz, give us the layout that we want." But he can sod off.
Did he vote for the other one?
I think he might have done. I don't know. But still, warm up has just finished, and we're about to get into it now for the European Bore Prix, which should be known it should have been known as the Luxembourg Bland Prix, as Aidan Millward has rightly pointed out. Anyway, here's your grid. Pete Harrod on pole position for Prost Mugen Honda. Kevin Zemstra alongside him on the front row. Ben Hoffman and Pete Newman on row 2, with John Tusting in the Minardi in 5th alongside Ben Gregory. Then we've got Silas Krag-Vrolik and Martin Kenyon, Karn Newen and Jakub Szymanski on row 5, and Toby Ward and Jack Stiles round out the grid in 11th and 12th. You know what the question is now, Jack. Who's your money on?
For the win?
No, 5th.
Oh, well, if we're guessing 5th, I'm going to go with Jack Stiles. But the win is going to go the way of Ben Hoffman.
Williams Renault
Interesting. Right then, the lights are coming on, and round 12, the European Bore Prix from the Nurburgring gets underway. Kevin Zemstra's gone! Kevin Zemstra, like a bolt out of the red, completely flies off the line. Amazing start. Pete Harrod looks to the inside. Still has Craig Vrolik's moving around. He's in the middle of the field. Tries to break later than everyone around him. Gets close to the back of Ben Gregory. Almost goes 3 wide with John Tusting. There's a car around, and guess what? Oh, no! Ben Hoffman and Jack Styles, the two people that Jack Johns pointed out at the start of the race, are both involved in an incident. Honestly, the curse lives on. It's not quite Ed May levels of cursing, but that is big commentator's curse right there. Toby Ward's gained 5 spots off the start. He's having a belter. Jakub Szymanski's around and off the circuit.
Unbelievable. I'm speechless. But those lights were not on for long at all, and Zwemstra was ready. And now look at him. 6 tenths in the lead. You got who have we got there? We got Newman, Harrod, Gregory, and Craig Vrolik. The top 5 looking like they're fairly close in a train. Toby Ward is up 5 places in P6. Obviously, the biggest gainer of the start of this race.
Can't believe that out of all of that, we've lost a quarter of the field already in those opening seconds, but they are going to get towed back to the pits and hopefully go back out there because it's championship points at the end of the day. It surprised me that they stopped so quickly, but they might have had what's known as a meatball flag when the damage is too much for the car to continue safely. Martin Kenyon here down the inside of Carl Newen, nice and light on the brakes into the chicane. Careful on the opening lap with that though, Sunshine. Lovely stuff. Let's have a look back at the start then, Jack, and just see exactly what went wrong here for Ben Hoffman. Other than everything.
I think he got a bit of a sluggish start actually, because he looked like he got swamped a little bit. Yeah, there he goes. A little bit of a delay on the pop of the clutch there. So immediately side by side. So he's now on the back foot. He's down to P4. He's got a couple more people with a little bit of overspeed. Now he's in the middle, or he's on the outside of a Jordan. Turns in, and I think he just spins. There he goes. Bounced off that curb. Gets hit from behind. Gets hit again.
Yeah, Jack Styles didn't really have anywhere to go there, to be honest, did he? Let's have a look from Jack's point of view. You can see it's almost like coming to a stop. He's down the inside of Jakub Szymanski. John Tusting hits Ben Hoffman. He goes left. He goes right. Oh, he expects the incident to go left. Understandably, Jack Styles there trying to go to the left-hand side. Ben Hoffman is now back out of the pits and cracking on with it, so he's still going for those points. Oh, no, apparently he's not. Or has he had a blink in and out? He was showing us doing some speed a moment ago, but I think Ben's gone actually. Tusting and Styles still sat there in the pits, but Ben could go out there though and still get some points out of this, but seemingly not going for that option at the moment. Here is your race leader then, Kevin Zemstra from Pete Newman and Pete Harrod. Ben Gregory in 4th place, still has Craig Vrolik in 5th. Toby Ward actually gaining 5 places off the start. Let's have a look at what happened to Toby Ward, shall we? Because he started all the way back here in 11th place.
Oh, nice
what
reactions there.
Yeah.
Immediately passes that car on his left, and then he's going to gain 3 after turn 2. So is the 2 that you get? There he goes. He goes down the inside.
That's Kenyon.
The Lola on his left. Yeah.
And then
he's
of
going to
course
hold it around the outside and be in the perfect place to avoid all of that carnage on the inside of the exit.
All of that sugar on the outside. Yeah. Oh no, coming back out in the middle of it all, John Tusting. Oh, John.
Oh.
John, he doesn't want to back down. He's like, right, stuff you. I had a spin on my own. It's my own fault. I'm angry now. I'm going to go for this. Jack Styles is going back out. But look, John doesn't want to back down. He really needs to, though. Come on, John. You need to get out of the way of these boys here. Silas is not going to be happy with this. I'm not quite sure what John's game plan is here. He's normally very level-headed, but that's not the right decision to be fighting amongst it, knowing he's 2 laps down on these boys. Whoa, Silas, that's not on either. Come on, boys. I know Silas is not going to be happy about that, but flipping out, that's more than a show of body language, to be honest. Alex King is saying, this looks so fun, I really want to join. Too bad I can't until the championship is over. To be honest, Alex, we're going to be having a talk with some of the drivers between now and between the final round of the season, based on what championships are decided and what aren't. So we'll have to let you know on that one, mate. But if you head to, actually no, I've not even got the entry form available on my website anymore. But if you jump into either the Discord or something via the rule book or a link on my website somewhere and get in touch, then yeah, I'm sure we can try and figure something out. I can't promise anything, but we'll try. Anyway, we've got this lead battle going on right now. Pete Newman in the Benetton chasing down Kevin Zemstra. Look at the way that the back end just flicks out slightly on the exit of the chicane. Again, Jack, that's the thing, at slow speed, trying to get the rears spun up, or trying not to get the rears spun up, I should say, and get these cars off the line as quickly as possible. It is so difficult, isn't it, sometimes, no matter what gear you're in.
Pretty much. It's looking like a top 5 fight at the moment for the lead, and then you got Kenyon and Ward who might end up, and Nguyen actually, who might end up in a freeway fight for P6, and then the others I think were all involved in their own incidents. Szymanski having that spin as well, so he's a little bit further back. But yeah, these two looking extremely close. Newman in the fuel-saving position, Zemstra in a position that he's familiar with now, but hasn't claimed many wins this season. He has. Is it one win, or has he got more than one now?
Just the one last time out at Red Bull Ring, so he's going to hopefully make it, for his sake, 2 in a row. But it was Pete Newman and Pete Harrod that were trying to chase him down for that victory at Red Bull Ring as well. So I'm sure that he's going to be a little bit nervous about whatever comes his way. But the slipstreaming here isn't anywhere near as strong by the look of it. You know, it's always been strong this season, but
seems like the guys have to work harder in the twisty bits here to stay with the cars around them or ahead of them.
Yeah, what's going to be tough for Tusting is he was on pace with all of these guys, and now he's on the back of this train a lap down. It's literally where he should be in the race. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a message saying, can you add a lap on? So put him back in this race. But yeah, it's a real shame actually how that worked out. But it does not stop the racing from happening. This is Pete Harrod, well that was Pete Harrod, but now we're on board. We're looking at Nguyen. Chasing down Ward, who is right in front of him into this chicane.
And again, big
loss of the rear.
Both of them had their own little moment there. Car Newman had it sort of slowly loop on him, but whereas Toby went completely sideways into the corner. Now, partway
Look at
through,
how he set that corner up.
Yeah, he took the late apex, didn't he, and pinched it to the inside.
Yeah.
Partway.
It hasn't actually given him that much of a gain. Sorry, Chaz.
No, it's all good.
Get that out. Partway through.
You what? So partway through the season, we were only going to have the medium downforce set up for Monza and Spa, which are obviously higher speed circuits that require less downforce to get the most out of the cars. But the drivers and the teams all said they were happy for us to use medium downforce for the rest of the season. The downforce effect and the slipstream effect isn't as massive, which makes the cars trickier, but they really do float around a lot more in the corners. And I tell you what, it's made it really exciting to just watch a car drive around a corner normally.
Yeah, some of these fast downhill corners around here really make the car look like it's absolutely going to be thrown off the circuit. But I said that it didn't work initially, but Nguyen did get that pass done down into turn 1 on the brakes. So, well, it all starts. It shows actually how. So that for those that don't know, that are maybe watching at home, that don't drive regularly, this shows how much further ahead sometimes you need to plan these sorts of things. It might have been an instinctive move from Khan there, but he set it up so early and then got the move done down into turn 1. What happens here? Whoa! What really unsettled on the curve there? That was Pete Newman going off. Drops down to P3, right behind the Proster Pete Harrod.
Yeah, he had a real big moment there, Pete Newman. But again, that's just it. If you push that little bit too hard, back end of the car goes around and suddenly you're done. Ben Gregory now under pressure from Silas Kragvrolic. There's a battle going on in front as well for second place. Pete versus Pete. This is another one to look at. Silas goes one way and the other.
He needs to shut the rest of that door. I'm glad he did, because Silas was looking for that. Did you see that gap between the wall and the car? It's going to be tight there. That's going to hold Silas right tight on the apex, which is going to ruin his run. That was great driving from both of them. Ben Gregory knowing exactly what he's doing at the moment.
Yeah, he put that car just in the right place. Left enough room down the inside for Silas to be there, but made sure it was only enough room and that he would have to really compromise his run and pinch it to the wall on the inside. All the while, Martin Kenyon's behind them in 6th position. He's going to be loving life, really, to be honest with you. I thought it was him directly behind, but of course it's the Minardi of John Tusting. He's currently running in 10th place, 1 lap down from the race lead, but he's still in a place to score 3 championship points. Jack Stiles is on his way to score 2. And in terms of the championship itself, Jack is quite a long way ahead of Tim Perry and Ben Hoffman, neither of which are going to score points tonight. So Jack doesn't need to worry too much. The main thing is, though, is that as long as Pete Newman finishes ahead of Silas Kragvrolic, Benetton will win the team's championship, the Constructors' Championship tonight, because McLaren need to outscore them by 9 points just to take it to the next round of the season, the final round.
Completely, my mind's gone blank. Who's the other McLaren? Christian Rose.
Oh,
he's going to save that. What a save. What a save. You need to watch that again because that was insane. He should have spun. There's no doubt about it. That should have been a spin.
I don't even know how we can go back that far, unfortunately. But yeah, that was amazing. Forgive me. I'm just going to hit reverse. I'm just going to rewind it. I can't because it wasn't an official spin or an off or anything. We can't actually look back at it properly. So we're just going to rewind it. This is Silas going into the chicane then, and
That's one of the ropiest moments of the season. That is one of the absolute ropiest moments of the season by Silas Craig-Vrolic. But again, you always say it, Jack, that he is one of the most exciting drivers out there and always makes it look like an amazing, wild ride. And that was, again, him proving the point there.
He just literally just broke 1 inch, 2 inches on the grass, and that caused that whole thing. But yeah, he's done really well to keep it facing the right direction. Still in the race, he's right behind still. Lap 7 of 22.
Yeah, third of the race about to be completed so far. And don't forget, we don't normally get pit stops or any sort of fuel strategy until a little bit later in the race, maybe about 2/3 race distance. But as usual, there is a train at the front of the field, but around here the slipstream is not as massive. You know, we normally get them completely nose to tail every single corner, every single lap. But right now we do not have that. We've got them still close together, and you can see the slipstream working there for Pete Harrod. Got some moves going on further down the order. Jakub Szymanski's had an issue down at the first chicane. He's following Jack Stiles, and on the exit, he's just lifted the rear. And he's got a bit of a migraine tonight as Jakub Szymanski, so that's going to give him even more of a headache. This is Carl Newen having a moment in the Tyrrell.
Similar position here, I think.
Yeah, Toby Ward goes through. Thank you, he says. After that hard work earlier on to gain that place, Toby gets it in quite the freebie. Now, this is for the race lead, side by side. Pete Harrod having a go at Kevin Zemstra, and Pete Newman trying to get in on this as well. It's 3 of them for the race lead here at the Nurburgring. And look at the slipstream now by Pete Harrod. He's going to look down the inside into the left-hander. Surely he's going to have the inside line and then take it, but no! Amazing stuff by Zemstra around the outside. Carries the speed. Pete needs to try and slot back in here. He's on the gravel on the outside. Now Pete Newman's going to get the run. He's going to be down the inside into the Dunlop curve at the bottom, also known as the Mullenbach Schleifer. Hard onto the brakes he goes, and he makes it stick. Now that's him basically regaining the second place that he had earlier on in this race, and now he's going to get a massive slipstream up the hill. But we're going to go on board from Pete Harrod and see this from his point of view, because he's getting the double toe here, Jack, as they go through the Schumacher S's.
He is indeed. That was great stuff from all 3 drivers. It did look like that Pete should have got the better run out of turn 2, because he done that thing that we saw earlier where Zemstra was kind of held tight, but Zemstra actually still amazingly got a good exit. Side by side down the hill, Zemstra then had the upper hand into the right-hander, and now we're on our way towards that chicane. I don't think Pete's going to get close enough for a move here. I don't think any of these 3 are actually going to try moves into the chicane just because of how much time you lose. So I think they're all going to play it safe through here. Let's play it safe into the final corner. They're all going to set themselves up for turn 1 overtakes, and anything that happens opportunity-wise afterwards, they'll go for it.
I think they've got to be careful as well, because Ben Gregory's only 1 and a bit seconds back on this, and then you've got Silas Craig-Vrolic recovering from his earlier moment. So the 3 of them, if they start battling, know that they could be vulnerable. But no moves being made yet, like you say. They're just all playing it safe for now, waiting for the opportunity. But great, clever driving is on. No, Silas has gone around. He's not lost a place. That was John Tustin going through, but yeah, Silas over-rotates the car into turn 1, and that's just how easy it is to do, Jack.
Oh, downshift.
Yep.
That would have been a downshift. The way it just spanned by itself, it wasn't a lock-up of the brakes. That was what I was talking about earlier in that practice, where if you downshift 1 gear too early, the rear end just steps out, and then I guess in that area of the circuit, you just can't save it.
It's like you've hit a landmine with one of the rear wheels, isn't it? It just explodes sideways very suddenly, and especially on the medium downforce setup as well. The high downforce setup is pretty sketchy at the best of times, but when you're on medium setup, it is even more sketchy. in the places that matter. I remember testing the car for the first time at the Hungaroring, thinking, I wonder if we could do a championship in this car, and flipping heck, turn 5 as you go around the double right-hander at the top of the hill. Oh my god, it was one of the scariest things, absolutely scariest thing. And apparently the Dunlop Kara, which is the corner at the bottom of the hill, the Dunlop curve, is now called the Goodyear curve, and it's no wonder that they changed it. Well, it's no wonder that the FIA European Truck Racing Championship used it so brilliantly for the ADAC Truck Grand Prix this year, because their main title sponsor is Goodyear. So it's no wonder they had a rock concert in that hairpin this year. That's the most drunk I've been in years. Anyway, Pete Newman is right up behind Kevin Zemstra now. Down the inside he goes. He's going to make this nice and tidy if possible. Kevin's giving him the room. Great, respectful stuff. The only problem is, though, when you...
Look at that. Look at this. He's going to get a better exit here, is Newman. He's just set that up beautifully on the exit and got a switchback. Textbook, but is he going to get it done? I don't think he is.
No.
So Zemstra's managed to pull it away again. He's really putting in work right now, that Ferrari driver.
Yeah, he's doing an amazing job, isn't he? I was going to say that one of the things that you've got to be very careful of is if you are taking a different line, if you are giving that extra bit of room, you are compromising yourself and taking a line that you don't normally. So you're either using less steering input or more steering input than what you used to. The car might be at a different speed. You know, your inputs are completely different. John Tusting has had an issue, I'm afraid. And this is down at turn 2. Oh, look how smoothly it goes around. It's such a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Jakub Szymanski has been into the pits. I think that's his scheduled stop. He's getting it done and out the way sooner rather than later. But this still going on for the lead as Ben Gregory now is getting closer and closer here. You know, he's only just over a second behind these guys. And as long as he's quick in the twisty stuff, he could actually start to benefit from some slipstream from that sort of range, Jack.
Yeah, and the more these guys keep trying to pass each other as well, it just brings him, it'll probably bring him with like a couple temps in each time. So all he needs really is Newman to make another send, which he looks close enough to do so. He's very close to Zemstra on the exit of that final turn. Harrod is also sat back kind of watching. But like you said, well within the slipstream now of that Prost up ahead.
Down towards turn 1 once again we go. Pete Newman not looking to the inside this time. He's showing Kevin that he's content to just sit behind him for the time being. He knows that if he launches an attack, Pete Harrod is going to be right there as well. Ben Gregory's lost a little bit of time in the first couple of corners there. He's now 1.2 seconds back. It's not the end of the world, but of course that gap opening up a little bit. Further down in the field, we've got Martin Kenyon, Toby Ward, Khan Newen and Jakub Szymanski still on the lead lap. Jack Stiles is still circulating in his Ferrari. However, if we show you the track map between himself and John Tusting, that's the difference from 11th to 10th place. It's about 14 seconds between the two of them, and I can confirm that Jakub Szymanski's stop was his scheduled pit stop, basically. He was in the box for 10 seconds.
Stiles might struggle to catch that gap up. He was looking quick in qualifying, but Tustin's probably had the most pace he's had all season, to be honest, compared to the other drivers. So you've got 11 laps left. We're halfway through the race. It will be interesting to see how close Stiles can get, or if any of them make an issue, make an mistake, like I think Silas might have just done again.
Yeah, I think Silas has just come to a stop for a moment. We look at this battle as Khan Newen puts his nose down the inside of Toby Ward and the Minardi. Tyrrell down the inside. It's going to be on the outside for the next right-hander. Carries the speed. Toby nice and respectful. Jack's going to try and take advantage of this, though, because he needs to get past this battle as quickly as possible. Let's not forget Khan Newen had that moment earlier on and lost a lot of ground. We'll look at this before we go back to Silas's moment. Is Pete now going to look down the inside once again? He's sort of looking, but he's just filling Kevin's mirrors at the moment. This is what happened to Silas Craig Frolic. Whoa, dearie me.
Just snapped on him. That would have been, that didn't look like a downshift. I think it might have just been too much speed. Oh, maybe it was.
Yeah.
Maybe it was.
Those tyres are going to feel absolutely horrendous now for quite a bit. Then again, they feel horrendous on iRacing most of the time anyway. But I think maybe a bit of the AstroTurf influenced that massive, massive moment there as well, because while it wasn't an initial sudden spin round on the right-hand side, like the right rear breaking away or anything, it was very gradual, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a slow one. It looked like he dipped a wheel on the outside of the circuit again, like you said. It's just really pushing his Silas today. But unfortunately, mistakes creeping in. You've got to give props to Nguyen, actually, again, on that move that he just did earlier on, because you don't often see... I wouldn't say you often see a pass there. He sent it down the inside of that 90-degree left and then kept it around the outside. This is it again. Down the inside. It's fairly safe from the outside driver there. And then I think the move was pretty much done by this point, but he gave him room anyway, just in case. So respectful driving and a great move.
Was indeed, as Jack Styles now unlaps himself. Khan knows that that's nothing really to worry about. He just needs to run his own race, not make any mistakes, and try and grab some championship points, because so far he only has 9 championship points to his name, and I think his best score in any race so far this season has been 3. He's had 3 finishes in 10th position this season, has Khan, so he's on for his best result of the season by quite a long shot as well, and of course points wise it will help him massively. Still the battles go on at the front of the field, and still Kevin Zemstra leads the way. What a great drive this has been by Kevin, because while the guys have been swapping places behind him and both putting in an amazing effort as well, it's just been solid by Kevin. He hasn't looked in doubt at any point, has he?
Not yet. Well, yeah, he's perfectly placed his car in everything that Newman and Howard have thrown at him so far. But the pit stop phase is where I think the next... He's in a rhythm right now. I don't think a mistake's going to creep in just yet, even with all the pressure behind. But the pit stop phase is the next sort of break in mental mindset where a mistake could happen.
Certainly could. Throws it into the left-hander. Look at the speed, especially knowing how easy it is to break this car away from any sort of traction. The speed these guys carry around some of these corners is very, very impressive, it has to be said. And Kevin leading very, very well at the moment. I mean, even if you look at Kevin's score when it comes to his points so far this season, he had 5 podiums before his race win, but from the first 3 races in the championship, he only scored 16 points, and you get 15 for a 3rd place. So when you've got Cam Dance winning the first 5 races on the trot and then 2 in a row as well later on in the season, you've got to consider just how much Kevin lost at those points. And for him then to still be in the championship at this point as well, just amazing. Just amazing to have him right up there in the standings, and especially in this race as well. 8 laps to go after this one, Jack, but it's still anybody's guess at the front, because we know how quickly this can all change around in the last laps and even just through the pit stops.
Yeah, I thought Newman was going to go for that then. He looked really close into towards turn 1, but just opportunity didn't present itself. He backed out of it. So potential, I mean, I wouldn't say he's fuel saving that much. This top 3 are pushing. They are on pace. We've got 41 second lap times coming out of some of these with the slipstream. Zemstra in the lead is doing 42.1. So it's insane pace that they're running right now, as Kenyon is serving his pit stop. Let's see how long he's stationary for. 10.4 was Jakub Szymanski's pit stop in the other Lola. 10.6 for Martin Kenyon in the second Lola.
There's the times to the nearest 10th on the left, and on the left is Pete Newman down the inside of Kevin Zemstra. He's going for this now. He's decided to finally have a crack at it. Around the outside he goes, carries the pace very, very well, and he's going to get in front, and he is. Pete Newman leads the European Bore Prix. Amazing work, and now look, all of a sudden Pete Harrod's like, right, I can smell blood in the water now, I'm coming back at this. Kevin Zemstra's going to try and go late on the brakes into the chicane. It's not going to work, but they're going to potentially hold each other up here. Where's Pete Harrod in this? Can't quite see him because of that sort of camera shot, but the battle has now ignited, and you can bet that Zemstra isn't going to take that line down, or is he going to see this as an opportunity to save some fuel, Jack? What do you reckon?
No, he's going to want this back as soon as he can. If he was a little bit closer, he would have tried that in the chicane. 100%. I don't know if he's going to do it this time. It looks like Newman goes defensive. So Zemstra's going to go to the outside here. He's going to try and cut back. Oh, no, he's going to... is there contact there? I'm not sure. It was very mixed messages of lines there. So that ruins the opportunity this time around. But he's not out of this race.
No, definitely not. Very, very close moment there. Apologies, we just lost a bunch of frames for a moment there, but we're all good again now. That was incredibly close indeed. And I think they just about got away with contact, and I say just because there was millimetres in that there, but Pete was determined to cut the nose off the Ferrari and sort of get in his head and say, look, I'm not scared of you. I'm not going to jump out of the way. You know, I want to have a battle, and I will defend my position as best I can.
I'm not sure they touched, you know.
I don't think they did. Yeah, I don't think they did. But why is Silas dropped?
He's had another spin.
He has.
It was just after, but he has lost the position now. That's how many spins he's had. Just,
he tried to stay with it, didn't he? He tried to stay with it. Fair play. The commitment of Silas and Kevin, especially this season, has been second to none. But now,
I think it does show up where they swapped positions a couple times into that turn one. So this is just before, isn't it? So this is so they're around side by side now, and they go towards the chicane. If we hop on board with Ferrari at this point, because I think he has a look here, and then so look, this is where he didn't know where to go. He went to look at a left or right, but Pete placed his car in the middle of the circuit, so couldn't do anything about that. It's really just hindered his decision making really at that point. He's not going to have a look in this corner by the looks of it, although he is keeping that pressure on. So now this is where we want to keep an eye. So he's going to be in the slipstream down towards turn one. We see Pete Newman make a slight defense move towards the middle of the circuit again, making that indecisiveness happen, which is going to happen around about now. Kevin commits to the outside, and then watch Kevin stab the throttle here around about now. Oh, look at that. Like you said, just Pete Newman just cutting the nose off fairly. No contact made. Cutting the nose off fairly and saying, I am not going to let you walk all over me today.
Ben Gregory. So Ben Gregory has jumped him in the pits. He was stationary for 1.7 seconds less. And somehow Ben has jumped him. So maybe just difference in fuel calculations or whatever they needed. But this is exactly what Pete Newman does not need right now. And that is to have lost time, or lost places anyway, and to be losing time to the guys ahead, because they're going to have a bit more clear air and no Ben Gregory to fight with effectively. That's the long and short of it. And Newman now trying it, but Ben's defending. Carl Newen goes way off wide in front of them. As into the pits comes Pete Harrod. Kevin Zemstra has carried on to do another lap. So Kevin, well, he must have feathers for feet.
This could be a winning call for Zemstra, to be honest, with how this has played out for Newman. I'm not sure what happened. I feel like I blinked and got cut out from you a little bit then, Chaz, when you were speaking at first. But around the outside of chicane, contact! Oh, give each other room! Oh my God, that might be damage.
It's broken.
That is damage. That car is broke. Pete Newman is out of this race. He's going to pit
if he can
again. Oh, get it stopped!
Oh man, that's absolutely devastating for Pete Newman. He got past Ben Gregory around the outside into the chicane. Let's slow it down and have a look at what happened. So he's later on the brakes. He turns in. Oh, I just don't think he's left enough room. I really don't. Ben's hit the curb and then taken a sort of normal line. It's a bit weird how they morph through each other there. We don't often see that. There's the touch, I think, that breaks the rear. And then as you can see, Pete gets on the power. Back end steps out. I think Ben Gregory's got away lightly with that one there, to be honest with you. But
look at that. That was great car control, because that car was fully out of action at that point. But like I said, winning strat call potentially for Zemstra, although Harrod has come out ahead of all of those cars, so maybe they will be fighting still.
Yeah, Ben's actually still behind Silas Craig-Vrolic, and Silas hasn't pitted yet, so Ben needs to just carry on with whatever he's doing at the moment. And maybe, well, Silas isn't... I was going to say he's not going to make it easy for him, but he's sort of moved out the way there.
Actually a little bit lost in this pit stop phase. I didn't even know Ben Gregory was in this race. until Newman was right behind him. I was like, hang on, where's this Jordan come from? But there he is in P4, fighting Silas Craig-Vrolic, who hasn't stopped yet. Silas is not making this easy for him.
No, he's
I think he's coming in the pits now. There he goes.
Yeah, he does pull over into one side, and Zemstra's still out there, you know. He's not actually been back in at this point. Apologies for the drop frames, by the way. My internet's having a bit of a fart, to be honest with you, at every potential opportunity that it can. A man that's going really well that we've not really seen much of is Toby Ward. He's up to 4th place in this race, you know.
started in 11th place on the grid, and he's been absolutely flying and just carving his way through the pack bit by bit, taking advantage of people's misfortunes. He's not pitted yet, but I don't think he's going to lose many places, if any, when he does eventually come back in. Martin Kenyon's up there as well, and he has pitted, and he's ahead of Silas Craig Frolic.
That is true. Martin Kenyon is in P5 right now in this race, based on most pit stoppers. Zwemstra, the only one not to have stopped other than Toby Ward, I think. So 7.9 seconds was the stop for Harrod, and Gregory was 8 seconds. So quick stops from those top two there. I've got to say, though, Pete Harrod is doing everything he needs to right now. He's just gone 0.2 quicker on that last lap, being his first full lap since his pit stop, meaning he is going faster than Kevin. So this could be very close. Let's see how long Kevin is stationary for right now.
There is the graphic on the right-hand side. Number 1, of course, showing Kevin Zemstra, who is crawling down the pit lane right now, and Pete Harrod, the grey number 2, making his way into the chicane. So Zemstra is not going to be stationary for very long. You'll see it pop up on the left-hand side of your screen. It was 8 seconds for Pete Harrod. Kevin Zemstra is only about 0.7 of a second ahead when he pitted, and he's got a few laps less. As it's a very long stop by Kevin Zemstra. 10.6 seconds, and Pete Harrod goes through and takes the race lead in the European Bore Prix, as the 2 Ferraris behind him, one of them is not for position, that's Jack Stiles, and Kevin Zemstra has lost the lead to Pete Harrod with only a couple of laps to go. He's not even in slipstreaming range at this point, Kevin. Kevin, your name's Jack, sorry. I'm reading what I see.
Yeah, that's fine. No, 1.6 seconds back. That pit stop has cost him a lot of time. It was going to be close. Even if they matched pit stop times, Pete was going to be very close because he was going quicker on those outlaps. But that's a 2.5 second gain in the stop alone. 10.6 is the type of stops we have seen. That is almost an exact replica of Kenyon, Silas. You've got Jakub Szymanski as well with a 10.4. So that seems to be the normal stop time. Anyone below that in the 8-second region is doing something funky with their strategies, playing it either risky or unticking early enough to make it to the end and save time. And then the only other one I think slower than that was Carl Nguyen with an 11.8, which wasn't far off the 10 seconds ones really, but yeah. Big loss in the pit stops and potentially the race win, although it's closed the gap to 1.4. We're approaching lap 20. So 20, 21, 22. There's 3 laps left, and Kevin is going to have the bit between his teeth right now.
Well, the golden bit right here for Kevin is the fact that Jack Stiles is going to be in the slipstream with Pete Harrod, and we know that Jack's got the pace to stay with him. Kevin can then use Jack as a bit of a slipstream buffer to help bring him along. So all Jack is doing is extending how far that slipstream reaches back from Pete Harrod's race-leading car. So all he needs to do right now is just stay there and keep closing that gap down bit by bit, using his teammate as a sort of extension cable to the back of Pete's car.
Right, yeah. It was 4 tenths gained in that. It was 1.7 seconds back when he came out of the pits. 1.2 now. With 3 laps to go, that puts them side by side across the line. So, if I've done that maths right, maybe not. I may have just made that up. But Ben Gregory is in 3rd place, 8 seconds back. So he's having a great race.
Yeah, Ben's doing very well indeed. I think this might be his first podium of the season. Yes, it will be. His best result so far was actually the first round of the championship at Phillip Island with the Australian Bore Prix when he finished in 4th position. In round 9 of the championship, which was the Belgian Bore Prix, he finished in 5th place. So he's had some top 5 finishes so far this season, but no podiums as of yet for Ben Gregory. So I know that he's going to be a very happy boy if he can finish on the podium this time round. Gap is now down to a second between the leaders, by the way, as Zemstra is now ahead of Jack Stiles.
I don't know if that was a little bit early to swap over.
I think it was.
I think he needed the extension cable a little bit longer, but it depends on how Zemstra takes this final turn now. What's the gap going to be when they get to turn 1? If it drops to 8 tenths, then it was still a 4-tenth game, which is quite impressive. It's dropped to 9.
It's going to go to the 8s now.
Yeah, so another 4 tenths this lap. And it's 0.6 as they go into turn 1. Okay, it's very much on, but it's going to have to be a hell of a move, yeah. Very, go on, you carry on. I don't know what I was going to say.
We need to get... I love the honesty. We need to get the Wayne's World memes out where they're shouting game on with the hockey masks on when they're in the middle of the street. But to be honest, it is very much game on right now as Kevin Zemstra now tries to close down Pete Harrod in front of him for the race win. Could Pete, the man that just lost out last week at Red Bull Ring 3 weeks ago, Chaz, come on. Could he take his first win of the season on the same night that he's taken Prost's first pole of the season? Can Kevin Zemstra overcome this slipstream advantage, or this gap anyway, that they've got between them, and take his second win on the bounce, straight off the back of taking his maiden win of the season? It's very nail-biting stuff. It may have spread out for everybody else in the rest of the field. We may have had 2 retirements, and I tell you what, heart goes out to Pete Newman for his moment near the end of that race. But still, it's part of the racing, I'm afraid. There was just not enough room for the 2 of them through the chicane, but he had to take that chance. We're coming up to the final lap of the race now, Jack. It normally kicks off in these last laps. Somehow here, I think this might be a bit of a tame one in comparison. Let's see.
Yeah, compared to the season we've had, it's weird to say that this 1 second gap is going to be a tame finish, but it's going to take a mistake from Pete, really, I think. Now, the gap has actually extended. Pete's done a cracking lap there. It was a 141.7 for Zwemstra last time round and a 142.1, so it was a 4 tenth gain. That time, they were pretty much even, both 141.9. So, Harrod is doing everything he can. The gap closes down into turn 1 on those brakes. Zwemstra is trying to put the pressure on. He needs the tidiest lap of his life right now to close that 8 tenths. And potentially the only place he can do it... Oh, Toby, what are you doing out there? The only place he can do it is the chicane.
Jakub Szymanski has benefited from this, as Toby has just clipped that curve under pressure and had a big old spin on the grass, and Jakub Szymanski goes through and says thanks very much. But yes, we go back to the race lead battle because Pete Harrod into the hairpin has only got 8 tenths over Silas. Sorry, not Silas, Kevin Zemstra. The 2 of them are that exciting, it's easy to get them confused. But the Ferrari now 3/4 of a second back. Last time up here he is 1.1 seconds back. I'm not sure it's going to be enough. He needs a really good run through this left-right section, doesn't he?
He does. He'll be wishing for another lap, that's for sure. But it's just the way it goes sometimes. 1 lap to go, 6 tenths as they go into this right-hander. Now he's going to have the slipstream down to the chicane. But it's not 6 tenths worth. If it is, I'll be very impressed. A dive into the final turn?
Not from there, surely. I don't think it's going to be enough. Into the chicane one more time goes Pete Harrod for Prost Mugen Honda. He put it on pole position for the first time this season. It was the first time we saw a Prost on pole. And well, I said earlier, Pete needs a promotion. He's done an amazing job for the team. He's done an amazing job for himself. And Pete Harrod wins the European Bore Prix at the Nurburgring. Kevin Zemstra gets great points for second place. And a very nail-biting finish sees the Prost beat the Ferrari. Ben Gregory gets his first podium of the season. Very well done to Ben. That is a solid result. And this is the thing, when you don't have many people turn up, you can get good points. Just ask this man, Martin Kenyon for Lola. He's going to come home and get 4th place, 12 championship points, almost doubling his tally. This is going to be an amazingly popular result. Well done to Martin.
Yeah, but I clocked him there a few laps ago and I completely forgot to say anything. Maybe that's what I was going to say. But yeah. Oh.
All right.
That sums up. That's his race. But he came home in P5, to be fair, after 3-4 spins. So,
yeah,
not the end of the day. Jack Stiles ended up getting P10 by coming back out after his first crash. Obviously, with Hoffman and Newman not finishing the race. I think... in terms of Pete Harrod's win there, he has to put it down to lap 21.
Yeah.
Lap 21, he pulled out pace from nowhere all of a sudden. He was in the 42s for all of those laps, and Zwemstra was closing 4 tenths a lap. On lap 21, all of a sudden, he puts in a 141.9, goes 300ths quicker than Zwemstra, keeps the gap at a second, does another 42.2 on that last lap. Zwemstra closes that 4 tenths again. But because he bought himself that extra lap, the gap was 4 tenths across the line. And I think he needs to respect that lap 21. That was very well done under pressure.
Yeah, epic stuff by Pete Harrod. He takes the race win
in the European Bore Prix, all but confirming the need for a promotion. Not a bad night for Lola, to be honest with you. Very strong result from them too. Both Minardi score points as well. And importantly, in the Teams Championship, McLaren, through Silas Craig-Vrolik, score 12 points where Benetton score 0. And that means that the Teams Championship will go down to the final round at Suzuka. It's very likely that Benetton will take the win there because their gap now will be, 39 points, and the most you can get in one round as a team is 44, but still, it is doable. As long as both McLarens turn up for that final round, they could sneakily take the Constructors' title at the end, but that is epic stuff by Pete Harrod, and he will be a very, very happy boy after that one, won't he? So, let's have a look at our race results, shall we? Because we'll get through this, and then we'll speak to some drivers, hopefully. Pete Harrod takes the win, first win of the season for him and for Prost after taking his first pole for himself and the team as well. Very well done. He's been a great addition to that squad. I'm sure Tim Perry and Craig Evans will be really happy boys. Kevin Zemstra, second place for Ferrari. His great turnaround in this championship continues, and he opens up the gap more to Silas Craig-Vrolik in the final into the final race of the season. Ben Gregory gets his first podium of the season, and the same for Jordan as well, so well done to him. Martin Kenyon, probably my driver of the race, if not Pete Harrod there, because Martin Kenyon getting 4th place in the Lola, considering his pre-season testing and everything, that is magical stuff. Very magical indeed. Silas Craig-Vrolik 5th after a tough race. Carl Newen finishes 6th. Great result for him as well as Jakub Szymanski, Toby Ward and John Tusting. And then Jack Styles, well, he needed a strong result. Jack cursed him at the beginning, that's what I'm going to blame it on. And he still gets points for 10th, but that's not as many as he would have wanted. Pete Newman, though, did not finish, so Jack does gain 3 points on him in the Drivers' Championship. Pete Newman and Ben Hoffman, non-finishers for tonight. Well, amazing entertainment once again, Jack. Like I say, not the biggest grid, but I think we've proven at this point of the season that now that the grid numbers are dropping, as they naturally do in this sort of championship, it just happens, but we can still get an entertaining race out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said earlier on, the numbers were a little bit low today, but at the same time, to have 12 cars put on that much of a show at the top end especially is still impressive. These cars we've only got one round left, and we'll probably never see these cars ever again on iRacing, but they've been fantastic to watch, and the racing really has been intense all the way through.
I mean, I'd be up for another season, but it's all dependent on the numbers and what we can make work, and whether we do 1997 again or 98 or what changes from there. We'll have to see, but there's always a potential. There's always potential. There was certainly potential tonight in the Jordan Peugeot of Ben Gregory. Ben, finally you get that podium, mate. You came very close at the beginning of the season when we were at Phillip Island, but finally you've scored the podium that you were after all along.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I feel so bad for Pete getting to cover in that chicane with him. I do want to apologise. I just went a bit deep, and it sucks that he got so much damage and I got nothing out of that. But yeah, the fact I was able to run up in the front was different. Definitely.
I've got to say, you've not had much luck this season, to be honest with you, and I know that whenever there's been incident, you've always just sort of been caught by the wayside, or something has gone wrong that's just affected you in enough of a way to not always finish your race, but just knock you down the order a bit. And it's just nice to see everything went pretty smoothly tonight, except for that little bit of contact.
Yeah, for once it did. Fuel strategy-wise, I was really happy with, because I only put in about 3.8 in the stop, and I think Pete Newman ahead of me went a bit more, so that really helped me a lot, and getting around that turn 1 spin and so to run off with the top guys was really helpful. Yeah, finally. It's finally, yeah.
And obviously one more round of the championship left. It's been a long old year, to be fair. We may have only had 13 races, but it's certainly been fun having the championship last this long, because there's been suspense between each round. There's been a lot of time to get things sorted. How have you found the season up to this point, and what do you reckon ahead of the final round?
It's been really good. Like, having the teams aspect to it as well has been really fun. Like not knowing your teammate as well, which at the start was always interesting. But I'm excited for the final round. I'm excited to do this again, actually. One question: we don't have to submit a fuel sample, do we? Because I kind of run out.
No fuel samples needed here, to be fair. No worries about that at all. Very well done tonight, though, Ben. Obviously, we look forward to Suzuka in a few weeks' time. What are your thoughts about going there? Is it a circuit you enjoy?
Yeah, usually. I'm just not excited for Degner 1 because I'm going to end up in a wall in the gravel from that, I think. But yeah, it should be good fun at least.
Well, we might get the high downforce set up back for that one. I think there's going to be a vote on a number of things ahead of the final round, because I think now that a lot of the championships are almost tied up, it's all going to be about just enjoying the finale, I think, as we go to not just wind down the real World Championships as well, but of course this as well. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to, Ben, while we've got you?
Yeah, just everyone who on the grid there. That's one of the best races we've had for a while. And again, yeah, sorry to Pete with the contact. I'm going to be apologising for that for a while.
Well, still very entertaining to watch you, Ben. Great to see you get that podium as well. Finally got one on the board for Jordan. Hopefully another one at Suzuka. But for now, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, cheers, thank you.
Cheers. Good to see that final podium for Jordan, really, isn't it, Jack? Because we've known that Ben and even Carl Newen early on in the championship, and Aaron Smith taking over around the sort of halfway point. You know, we've known that there's a Jordan due to be on a podium, as there often was around the late 90s, but it's just not happened, and Ben finally gets there across the line. I always feel relief for them.
Yeah, it's always good when a driver can sneak a podium in before the season ends, especially there's one round to go. It feels like there's a pressure that lifts in that moment. I think everything moves up, doesn't it? I mean, you always want more, but if you're regularly out of the points, you want those first points, and then you can move on to your next target or just be happy with what you've got. If you're in the points, you want that podium. Ben Gregory's got that podium. If you're on that podium, you want that win. Swemstra got his first win last time out. It's a tick box exercise, and then if you're winning regularly, then you want that championship. So it's constantly moving up. But yeah, happy for him, and happy for all the drivers that score points today, to be honest. Like you said, Lola have had a blinding day.
They have indeed, and we'll speak to one of the drivers now. Martin Kenyon joins us in the box. Martin, you've said it in the YouTube chat yourself. Who would have thought a Lola would get P4? But you know, this highlights the season you've had, doesn't it, really? You've been there to pick up the points, and you're the biggest mover in the field tonight as well, gaining 4 spots from the start. Talk us through it. You must be over the moon.
I'm quite pleased with that, actually, yeah. A bit unfortunate at the start because I had to dodge like a couple of cars, so I lost the draft train straight off. But I don't know what happened up ahead. I'll have to watch the race back. But a few guys dropped out, so it got me from like a P6 where I think I would have finished anyway up there.
Well, like I said, you're there to pick up the points, mate, and get them for Lola. And you know, it's been a bit of a theme of the season, is praising you, to be honest. But considering how the pre-season testing went, you know, you've continually improved in this car, and it's nothing like a car that you'd normally be driving in iRacing. You're normally more involved in the oval side of things, from what I remember. And you know, it's all about that progression, isn't it? Is there any sort of secret to just continually improving, or is it just a case of turn up and just take each race as it comes?
The biggest thing for me was learning the tracks. It's because all I ever do is turn left.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So like, and you barely brake as well on ovals. So it's like learning where to brake, how to take the corners, lefts and rights, all your different lines, everything.
So it's not even just the car that you've been learning then over the course of the season. It's been the more twisty circuits compared to the ovals you used to as well.
Pretty much. We did change from the high downforce to medium downforce, and that suits the medium downforce suits my driving style a lot more than the high downforce did.
Right. That's interesting to hear, because we might be going back for the finale, but we'll see. That's going to be confirmed between the races anyway. But so don't take my word for that. But it's been very impressive to see, and of course, with one round left this season, I can't believe it's already come to it. Are you excited about Suzuka?
I'm hoping we get a bigger grid.
Yeah, me too.
I know, because P4 with like half a grid isn't like as significant as what I did in Monza. I think we had 17 in Monza.
Yeah.
And I got a P7. That felt better than a P4 today.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair enough. And the thing is, it's all about realistic milestones, isn't it? And it's good to know that you're sort of thinking about it that way. But still, we're really pleased for you, mate, to get that P4. At the end of the day, they're the points on the board. You're the one that turned up when a number of others didn't, and you're there to score them on the night. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to while we've got you in the box, mate?
Just everyone who's taking part and who's actually joined in every race. I know there's reasons why people can't join us, but my teammate Jakob is doing a lot better since he swapped teams, I've noticed.
Must be the Lola.
Yep, it's a great car.
Well, sorry.
That's it, thank you.
No worries at all, Martin. Well, great to have you in the box, mate. Well done on the solid result tonight, and we'll see you in a few weeks for the finale at Suzuka. Nice one.
Yeah, see you too.
Lovely stuff. Great to speak to Martin from the Lola team, Lola Ford. And again, I mean, he's right in a way, Jack. I don't want to sort of play it down, but, 4th in a field of 12 isn't as good as, 7th in a field of 16 or 17, however many it was on the night. But still, he's there to score the points, and he's done the job, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's showed up and he's got the P4. He is right. Like I said, you want that. We said about the point system earlier on in the season, how you chose to have it. Not everyone gets points for turning up. Obviously, that wasn't the case today because the people that turned up were all in the points. But normally, they have to fight for that extra point. So it does make it that little bit sweeter when you've had to fight through an extra 8 cars just to get 1 point, let alone the amount of points he got today in P4. And rightly so. That P7 was a great result when there was more drivers. So he knows he can do it. We've got one more round, and like you said, I think there'll be a little bit of a rally up, and there'll be a bigger grid next time out for an almighty finale. It's the full Suzuka layout, so it'll be pretty insane.
It will indeed. Well, thanks again for joining me in the box, Jack. It's always a pleasure, mate. We always have good fun, and of course, with the time difference as well, your efforts are even more appreciated than they were when you're over here in this horrific mess of a country. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me, Jack. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. It's been a hell of a lot of fun. Pete Harrod takes the first win of the season for Prost Mugen Honda, and his very first win of the championship for himself as well here at the Nurburgring. We'll be back in 3 weeks' time on the 9th of November, where we will wrap up the first season in the Chaz Draycott Media Formula One World Championship from Suzuka. But for now, have yourselves a wonderful evening, everybody, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Good night.
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.